has outlasted every empire. Every empire thought that it would last forever. But power fades, monuments fall, names they are forgotten. What survives is the art. The cave paintings, the folk songs, the poetry on temple walls, the sculptures, the dances, the mosaics. Empires scale until they erase the individual. And in that erasure, artists are born, not to glorify power, but to preserve meaning. If you've ever felt small in a world that seems too big to care, this video is for you. In this video, I'll show you why art outlasts every empire and why what you create today matters more than you realize. Chapter 1. What is an empire? By definition, an empire is more than just land. It's a story of power stretched across vast distances, held together by force, belief, and the illusion of permanence. Empires form when a few key forces converge. Surplus. Once people could grow more grain than they needed to survive, they could feed armies, scribes, and kings. Cities emerged and bureaucracies followed. Centralized power. Stored food became tax. Tax became war. War became empire. Strongmen rose who could promise safety or glory in exchange of obedience. Belief systems. Rulers became gods or chosen by them, and empires stitched together people who otherwise would have never met. Through shared myths, common laws, and roads which all led towards the capital. You see this pattern in every major imperial rise, from the Egyptian New Kingdom to the Roman Empire, from the Maurya Empire to the British Crown. Different languages, different tools, but the same blueprint. Control the food, the army, and the narrative. And yet, even at their peak, empires always carry a contradiction. They demand total conformity, but they also accidentally generate some of the most profound individual expression. Because the scale of empire produces something else too, an emotional vacuum, a loneliness in the crowd. And today's empires don't always wear crowns. Some wear logos and others run on code, but their goal is the same. Control attention, flatten identity, erase nuance. And into that vacuum comes the artist. Chapter 2. Why does art originate in empires? In early stages of empire, art doesn't belong to people. It belongs to power. From the beginning, rulers have used art not to tell the truth, but to shape narrative. In ancient Egypt, every statue, every wall painting, and every monument served a single purpose: to glorify the pharaoh and to reinforce divine rule. The pyramids weren't built for the living, they were built to immortalize authority. The Great Sphinx, still standing after 4,500 years, isn't just a sculpture, it's a message. This ruler is eternal. You are not. Rome perfected the same idea. Public spaces were filled with imperial propaganda and state-sponsored art. Triumphal arches celebrating conquest. Temples honoring the emperor. Sculptures of Augustus as an ageless god. These weren't art for art's sake. They were tools of the empire. They told the population that this is who we are and this is who you obey and follow. And art became like infrastructure, another weapon in the empire's arsenal, alongside roads, armies, and coinage. But over time, something changed. By the Renaissance, art began to shift from collective worship to personal voice. Patrons no longer necessarily needed to be kings or popes. They could be merchants, thinkers, or outcasts. Artists like Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Botticelli stopped painting just to please power and also started to paint to explore the human condition. They signed their names, they defied conventions, they made themselves visible. And this wasn't just Europe. Across the world, art was evolving. Japanese painters blended Western techniques with local traditions. African artists reimagined classical forms. And symbols of cross-cultural admiration started showing up everywhere. Everywhere, the same quiet rebellion. Art turning from propaganda into voice, from monument into mirror. That shift from propaganda to personal truth is a quiet revolution. It's when art stopped reinforcing the empire but started questioning it. It's when artists stopped serving only the state and started thinking about serving the soul. And that's the moment every empire starts losing control. Because once people start telling the truth, no amount of power can silence it forever. Chapter 3: The Emotional Vacuum That Births Artists. Why do the biggest, most efficient empires not produce more conformity, but instead produce more rebellion, more artists crying out for meaning? I think it's about scale. In every empire, life shifts from closed-knit communities to cities full of strangers. Sociologists warned us about this even a century ago, how urban life replaces real human bonds with surface-level transactions. Philosopher Emily Durkheim called it anime, a breakdown of collective meaning. The empire grows larger and the people in the empire feel smaller. And in that emptiness, art is how we reclaim ourselves. When you feel like a cog in someone else's machine, creating something becomes an act of ownership over the self. Painting, writing, making music, these aren't just hobbies. They become agents of the soul, asserting its existence. Empires use mass culture to unify, but that pressure often exposes the cracks. And through those cracks, artists emerge, proving that identity can't be assigned and meaning can't be mass manufactured. Psychologists say the same thing. In tightly controlled systems, people turn to self-expression as a form of freedom. And that's the paradox of empire. It can conquer land, it can rewrite the laws, but it can't conquer the soul. And in every era, art becomes that quiet, defiant voice whispering, I exist, I matter. Chapter 4: Why Art Outlasts Empires. The funny thing is that not the rulers, not the armies, what endures is the art. Long after empires crumble, their cathedrals, their sculptures, their poems are still here. Silent witnesses to lives, dreams, and power long gone. The pyramids still rise from the earth, even though no pharaoh walks the earth. The Parthenon watches over Athens, even though its empire vanished centuries ago. In Rome, tourists walk through what used to be imperial triumphs. And in India, the Taj Mahal glows with a kind of memory. Art becomes the echo, the proof that civilization once breathed. Even when books were burned and languages were erased, some of the stories survived. And even when the state forgets its people, art remembers. Songs, symbols, rituals, folk traditions often outlive the regimes that tried to control them. African tribal music, Indian local craft traditions, indigenous designs, they often outlast flags and governments. They become the soul of the people, not just the state. And that's the strange beauty of empire. It dies, but its art doesn't. Because art isn't about dominance, it's about meaning, and meaning survives. Chapter 5: How Art Shapes Future Civilizations. Art doesn't just remember the past, it plants the seeds for the future. Every piece of music, painting, or poem carries forward the lives, dreams, and values of its time. And those ideas, they don't just die when empires fall, they echo through time. They evolve. They become the questions that future generations live by. Take the Renaissance. Those artists weren't just admiring ancient Rome or Greece. They were reviving their spirit, rediscovering reason, and reimagining the essence of what it means to be a human being. What started as art and philosophy turned into science, medicine, and the foundations of the modern world. The Renaissance didn't just look back, it also looked forward. And what it saw became the Enlightenment. And I think that this pattern repeats everywhere. America's founding ideals were shaped by Roman and Greek ideas, filtered through the Renaissance thinkers. Modern artists remix medieval, African, Asian, or indigenous thoughts and principles and make something new. Even the most cutting-edge films and songs right now are a part of this long inheritance. Because in every era, it's the artists and the thinkers who first sense what's coming. Artists voice the impossible, they hold up a mirror, or sometimes open a doorway. And years later, the world catches up. So whenever you create something, whether it's a beat, a sketch, a story, or a song, it's not just art you're making. You're contributing to the next version of civilization, You're a part of the long human conversation. Empires may fall, but your voice remains. Chapter 6, A Reason to Continue. History proves it. Armies vanish, its borders blur, but art remains. Empires rise and fall, but the stories, the songs, and the images endure. If you feel alienated by the system, you're not broken. You're exactly what the system produces when it becomes too big to feel human. An artist, a creator, someone trying to find themselves while being lost in the midst of this vast, endless scale. And here's the hope, I think, buried in the chaos. Whatever tries to erase our individuality, whether it be governments, corporations, or algorithms, art will always outlive it. Your music, your words, your vision may carry longer than any ideology of our time. Like frescoes outliving kings, like ruins echoing with forgotten poems. Your work is the evidence that we were here and we felt. Because when the dust settles, it's not only the rulers who have shaped empires and civilization. It's also the artists, it's also the thinkers. And centuries from now, when they sift through what's left of us, what will they find? If we do this right, maybe they'll find you. So when you create, just remember that you're not just making content, you're leaving evidence. Proof that we existed, proof that we felt something, and proof that we fought to be human. Your art matters, so keep going. Anyway, I make music and I love making music, and here's a song I made recently that I'm quite proud of. I would love for you to hear it, and if you liked it, please leave a comment and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me and I would love to connect with you.